There we go. I'm going to go ahead and record this because I figure with the impending snow, many people probably aren't going to be able to watch this in person. So we will make sure that there is a way that they can view it on their own time. Thank you again. And let's see if I've got somebody who needs the link for this meeting. And let me see if I can share that real quick. Very quickly. And of course, my link requires someone to log in. Do any of you happen to have the link for this meeting really close that you could slip in the chat box so that I can email to someone else? I would appreciate that if at all possible. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And great. Thank you so very much. I'm going to share my screen and get started. It has been several months since I've had a computer science meeting, and I am glad that you're able to join me. It's been very challenging over the past couple months to juggle my computer science role and my ed tech role because I'm now branching out into virtual and blended learning as well. And just as a quick side note, we are looking for a director of computer science at the State Department of Education. If you know anyone or you might be interested and would like some more information, reach out to me. It has actually been a fabulous job. And I've been able to work with people across the country and around the world. And I've been very thankful for this role. So today, because a lot of people have had misunderstandings and confusion about our computer science standards, and with the legislation requiring everyone eventually to be educated in the computer science standards from K through 12, I thought over these next few months, I would take some time to break down the standards by subconcept. And I'm going to provide a little bit of background information. And again, these will all be recorded. So some people that are not as familiar with our standards will be able to gather some of that information. So real quick, for those of you that I have not met before, my name is Karen Leonard, and I am the Director of Education Technology and Computer Science. You're going to notice that there is a bit.ly in the top right-hand corner of every slide. That way, if you miss it at some point in time and would like access to the slide deck, it's always there for you. Please feel free to reach out to me at any time if you have questions, comments, concerns. I'm able to connect you with some people that might be able to help you. I can help you, and just want to be there to support each of you. So as we're waiting for a couple other people to get in, I know I'm kind of excited for the snow. We only like it like once a year. I'm not a cold weather person, and I could see Erin's face smiling too. I don't think she's a cold weather person either. So just 1 or 2 days is great. I am looking to go to the grocery store tonight. So if you've got any recipes or things that might be a great cold snow day food or activity, please go ahead and share those in the chat box. It's always kind of fun to hear what people think of when they think of snow days. And like I said, today we're going to be looking at just the computing system strand within our Oklahoma Academic Standards for Computer Science, and provide an option for questions and answers. So I'm seeing hot chocolate and a good book. I would love a good book. I'm working on my doctorate, so my reading is not exactly fun. And, you know, the one thing is when schools get canceled, we keep working. So it will probably just be a work at home day. And Chris, I was actually in Atlanta during that snowpocalypse and was stuck alongside the road for 4 hours, nearly running out of gas with a child that had not eaten yet. And that was a very, very interesting time. So Welcome to the South, yes. So a little bit about the standards. Like I said, we've had a lot of interest in learning a little bit more in-depth knowledge about the standards. And instead of tackling them all by grade level or grade band, I thought maybe just to take them a strand at a time and really be able to look into those. And the great thing is, hopefully you have some information, and I would love to have you unmute and share your thoughts, questions, concerns as we go through, and we can all kind of learn together. So as a reminder, our computer science standards were kind of taken based off of the Computer Science Teacher Association standards. Ours were put into legislation in 2018. One of the things that I'm proudest about of those standards is the fact that while the CSTA standards are grade banded, ours are grade level specific. And when you're really taking the chance to look through grade by grade, you're able to see the progression of skills. That way, if you're working with 3.5 or 6.8 students, you're not just having one standard that might be met several times. You're building those skills incrementally, and it really helps guide the teachers in the implementation and provides a stronger background for our students. Like I said, our first strand is computing systems, and we know that people interact with a wide variety of computing systems that collect and store knowledge, and we're able to analyze that knowledge with those. And we find that we act upon our information in ways that can greatly affect human capacities, both positively and negatively. So it's kind of a little bit of some of our digital citizenship and usage and helping one another as we learn about devices. Many people often associate this strand of our standards with our basic computer classes, which we would now call computer applications. And I think that sometimes is how we get some of the disconnect between what is the difference between a computer science class and a technology class or a computer application class. So when we're looking at the subconcepts of computing systems, we have 3 of those. The first one is devices. The second one is hardware and software. And the third one is troubleshooting. And we know that these provide us with that really firm understanding of our devices so that we're able to take them and use them and expand upon that. How are we doing so far? Okay, good. And again, please jump in and share as I go through. So like I said, I'm going to really kind of talk through what it takes to teach these standards across our grade bands in this case. So when we're talking about devices at the K2 level, students at this level will be aware of computing devices and how we interact with them. They should begin to use the correct vocabulary, learn how to follow directions when using devices, and select a device to do a specific task or to create a specific outcome. Such as if we're asking students to draw something, they would be able to select an appropriate drawing app. If we're asking students to type something or present something, they're able to analyze the different tools out there and decide which one would work best. And some of you might be saying, but I'm a high school teacher, or, why do I need to know this? Well, again, even at our 9-12 level, you really have to have an understanding of where students start until they get to you. And we know that at this point in time, many of our K5 or even K8 students do not have any of this background knowledge or information. So, that's kind of why we're going to go through all of our levels. Just something you may not have realized in looking at our standards, but at the 3-5 level, there are no skills directly related to the device subconcept. So our K2 is really setting a firm foundation, and then we're actually able to jump to more age appropriate information and understanding at the 6-8 level. And at the middle school level, our students should be able to understand the relationship between the users and devices. And, think creatively, how can devices be improved? Whether it's, somebody using a laptop with a built-in keyboard and understanding that maybe a wireless keyboard might be good for them, or, how can you take an iPad and they may not be able to create and improve it themselves, but, let's have them think big and think beyond what's out there. And then they use that knowledge of devices to be able to evaluate devices and, share change ideas. Why not have some of our students who use these devices plan to help improve them in the future? And then when you get to the 9-12, again, some of this might seem a little repetitive, but at 9-12, students are really focusing on using hardware and software to emphasize their problem-solving skills. And they're going to understand computing devices are often integrated with other systems, biological, mechanical. And we know that there's a great emphasis on abstraction at this level. And while we use devices all the time, we don't always fully understand the specifics of how they work. And the computing devices, like I said, are integrated, and the creation and integration or embedded systems, that's not an expectation at this level. We're just really focusing on using the hardware and software to emphasize student problem-solving skills. Any thoughts, questions, something you think that might have been left out? Devices, K-12? Okay, well, we can make this short and sweet today for you too. So moving on, our next subconcept in computing systems is hardware and software. We're starting very simple with our K2 students. We would expect them to be able to identify and name different parts of the computers, especially using that appropriate terminology, and explain the purposes for each part. So, we're talking, can students explain or name a mouse, a keyboard, a monitor, and, explain some of the uses of the peripheral parts, such as maybe scanners or printers or external hard drives. It might even be, instead of external hard drives, talking about clouds and how we're able to save that information in a cloud, which is something very difficult for our littlest learners to grasp, being so non-concrete. And as we move forward, our 3-5 students should be able to kind of explain very basically how information moves from one part of the device to another. Maybe not the entire process, but think students are able to use a keyboard to import information, and that goes into the computer, and then it goes maybe into an output such as a document or a presentation, or maybe they're creating their own program or using something maybe in code.org where they're making something move. And at this point in time, although it's not specifically stated as binary in our standards, we know that even at the K2 level, we can kind of talk binary, ones and zeros. But at the 3-5, students need to know that information is broken down into smaller bits. And that's actually how our standards use the word, is bits. And, I know that even as young as K2, I've done binary bracelets and everything with students. And just to kind of give them, I think, the more vocabulary and background we introduce to them, just in casual conversations, it's something that kind of sticks there in their brain for when they actually need it later on. As we move forward with our 6-8 students, students at this level should be able to explain some of the different ways that data is collected and exchanged. input, output, storage, processing. They should be able to determine what hardware or software is needed to accomplish specific tasks, such as Bluetooth or USB cords. Which one works best for mobility, which is a power source, and specifically for collecting and exchanging data. And then our high school students. Like I said, some of our students get to 9th grade and maybe that's the first time that they're taking a computer science class. So think, although they're introduced to bits and binary at younger ages, that could be a completely new concept for some of our students coming in at the high school level. So at the high school level, at the basic level, students know that a computer is composed of hardware, physical hardware, and electrical impulses. There's multiple layers of software built upon hardware, and they interact with layers to reduce the complexity. And our software management systems just really work together. Like a text editing software interacts with our operating system to receive input from the computer, and it converts that input into bits for storage and interprets those bits as readable data to display on a monitor. So they're understanding the complexity and how different softwares are used for different devices. And sometimes some of that software, we can even go in and compare, some of the differences between our web browsers or, some of that. Students can explore the progression from voltage to binary signal. They should have knowledge on some of the specific advanced terms for computer architecture, maybe like kernels. It's not expected, but then again, it's always good to be able to introduce some of that information to students. Any thoughts on hardware, software with our students? Okay, well, our last one. This is the one I actually find the most intriguing. I love troubleshooting, and I think that this is one of the skills that students at any age can take beyond, obviously, computer science and use for their daily life. So at troubleshooting, even kindergartners can understand, obviously, devices aren't working. And some of those little ones surprise us with the ability to troubleshoot and fix on their own. They may not be able to verbally explain what they're doing, but man, they've got it. And our goal is to try to have them talk about what they're doing and use that correct terminology to try and figure out, well, why isn't it working? And then at the 3-5 level, students should really be able to explain, to identify and communicate some of those problems and identify some of those possible strategies and explain why a strategy should work. So maybe not even saying, okay, go ahead and try and solve it, but just having some of those discussions. Here's a problem. What are some things that we could do to fix it? Why do you think that would work? And somebody else might say why that wouldn't work. So just talking through some of those solutions. At the middle school level, students should definitely be able to identify some of the more complex hardware and software problems. They should probably be able to resolve some of those issues on their own and probably support others in resolving some of those issues. We would like to be able to have students at this age begin to document their process in identifying and resolving. So maybe that's making a troubleshooting flow diagram, making changes to software to see what will work, checking connections and settings, and maybe even creating their own checklists that they could share. Well, I've had this problem before. Here are some things that I've worked through. And again, just be able to voice reason and talk with each other. And then by the time our students get to high school, our students should not only be able to identify and fix complex issues, but they should be able to provide that guidance and support for others. We know that those students are probably ones that their teachers don't have the knowledge, but they're going to be able to help and support those. We're talking maybe resolving connectivity issues, adjusting system configurations and settings, maybe even transferring data from one device to another. And at this point in time, they should probably be able to create flow charts, maybe even have job aids for some of those help desks employees, or, be like an expert that others can turn to. So I'm really thankful. Computing systems is probably one of the easiest ones to go through and explain, because like I said, those are the ones that people are familiar with. Thoughts, concerns, what have been some of the challenges maybe you have seen in teaching students, or even sharing with other teachers just focused upon this strand? Or are there some tools or programs or things that you implement with your own students that help support this strand?
I really
Karen,
just,
sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say I'm kind of quiet because I just took over the role of computer science coordinator the other day. And so I'm still trying to get my bearings here. So.
Well, then maybe this was very good. So we're starting off.
It was.
basic.
It was.
Okay.
I've looked through the standards and stuff. Still trying to familiarize myself with them. I did have one idea just now about this troubleshooting for 9th through 12th graders. I work for Oklahoma City Public Schools, and it would be great if we could eventually get high school students that could help with our help desk to alleviate some of that strain that we have on our employees. So plus it would give them some practical experience too. So that might be something I look into here coming up.
Great. Any other thoughts, suggestions? I know Ruth is a high school teacher. It's good to see you. I haven't seen you in many months. I hope you're doing well. Some things that that have been troubling to students, or things that you wish your students would
Sorry, I have COVID and I'm home.
Oh no, Ruth. Oh, in the past, have there been things that you wish your students would have come better prepared in terms of this strand?
Well, we teach funded tech and admin tech, which don't meet the requirements for the new computer science requirement. So I'm concerned what we're going to offer. And I can't seem to get Oklahoma Department of Career Tech on the same page that you and I have discussed before. So you and I may need to. They think funded tech will meet the requirement, and funded tech does not meet the requirement.
I think as with any new initiative and any new legislation, there's always going to be some of that confusion. And we are working. I've spoken with many people, but that's really good to know that that's an area that I should reach out. And, our goal is a course that is defined as computer science must involve our Oklahoma academic standards for computer science and be,
So our question is this.
Mm-hmm.
I teach AP computer science, which I teach both classes.
Mm-hmm.
So I teach CSA, which is all Java, and I teach AP CSP, which can be any language,
Mm-hmm.
and it focuses on devices and troubleshooting and designing an app.
Mm-hmm.
Would those meet the requirement of the computer science? We would still offer funded tech and offer that as a second level class, or admin tech, because that's what we're doing right now. But
if you are addressing all of at the 912 level 1 computer science standards, and it is coded to reflect that, then it should meet the requirements. It really goes back to, no matter what the name is, what are the standards that are being addressed? And it has to
none
be
of the courses we teach none of the courses that are on the Oklahoma Department of Career Tech Pathways meet these standards unless we go a true computer science pathway. So
Maybe you
when
and
I
I
was on
can,
computer science, I was on that computer science thing, and then my dad died. So when I was going through all the requirements that we had to go through for that textbook thing, then I realized that the Department of Career Tech and Oklahoma City Public Schools were not going to meet the requirement. So I was trying to dig through so that I could help them, but
well,
we don't
maybe
know.
you and I can set up a time to talk more, and you can give me some names that maybe of some of the people that I can reach out to, because I think, again, at the State
Yeah, we
Department
haven't-
level, we have to ensure that we're sharing all of the information that
Right.
is important.
And and we don't. I mean, the graduating class of 2025 is the class that has to meet the computer science requirement, which, since we didn't offer it this year, means we need to offer it to our sophomores at least next
Oh,
year.
okay. I see what you're saying. And the requirement just states that as of the 24-25 school year, a school must offer a computer science course. So it does not mandate every student must take it. It just says a
Okay.
school has to offer it. And then, and that's at the 9-12 level. And the other thing is, 2 years of computer science or of computer classes, I'm going to be very cautious with my wording, of computer classes would equate to 2 years of a world language. So a student could maybe either take 2 years of Spanish or 2 years of a computer class, and then that would meet the requirements for graduation. But other than that, there's nothing mandated per graduation year, or
Okay.
so it's just by
So
the
the fact that we
24-25.
offer AP computer science, we would meet the requirement.
Yes,
As long
you
as we
would.
continue to offer it.
Yes. And just
Okay.
ensuring that they're meeting our standards. So, yeah, but it looks like Brian with OKCPS, I know you're through Career Tech, but he might be a good connection for you to talk with. And I think that will be good moving forward too. So maybe you could kind of share some information with each other.
Yeah, I'm on the Oklahoma City Public Schools business team and computer science team. So I need to gather all the information so that I can. We want to be proactive instead of reactive, which has been their policy not their policy, but their practice. I'm trying to convert them to proactive and
Good.
before I retire.
Good.
We're on the same page.
Good.
Definitely on the same page.
And I know Aaron's.
I might jump in.
Good.
I and the regional
Right.
partner manager for code.org. I know I've met a lot of you, but CS principles should be meeting those standards.
CS principles doesn't teach devices.
It doesn't teach the devices.
Well, okay, so
I mean, it depends on which curriculum you're using, because though they all have the same syllabus from the from the College Board, there's limited knowledge on devices. I teach principles this year, and they've had very few even assignments or in any of the curriculum about devices. We do troubleshootings, but it's coding troubleshooting, not device and hardware and software.
And you know what? I think that's a really good point. And, we have to consider that no one curriculum will hit every standard. So although you may be using one curriculum, there will probably need to be some supplementing in order to meet some of those standards. I was looking at Kansas standards, and Kansas standards for computer science include history of computer science as well. So I know that, they have to supplement. They may use code.org, they may use CodeHS, but in order to ensure that they're hitting all of those standards, they may have to pull some other lessons and include that in as well. Any other, thoughts, suggestions related to ensuring that the computing systems are addressed across the, is there something that you think is missing? Or, I still kind of find it funny that in terms of devices, there's nothing for 3.5. I kept reading that each time I go back. I'm like, well, but if you're building that firm foundation with K2 and, sometimes there's just not always something to fill in there. And I can see that, Ruth and Brian and Erin's added her email address in there if you've got some content questions.
I had a thought that was sparked in my mind as you were talking about some of the younger requirements. We're used to dealing with middle and high school courses where students are actually taking the course on a long-term basis and they're capable of following that level of material. But clearly for the younger set, they're not doing that every day as a class. It's something that's kind of woven in bits and pieces. So from a delivery mechanism standpoint, are teachers looking for a collection of PDFs or physical manipulatives or online content? And then how do you assess those students? Are they literally taking quizzes and tests, or is there any sort of assessment built in to say, hey, we know they have actually met the requirements?
Well, here in Oklahoma, all of that is based upon school choice. It's local control. So it's kind of determined, each district can determine how they assess that. So some might just be good having that casual conversation and knowing that just in crossing that's been met. Some might go through more summative assessment.
Sure. I was just curious if there are any best practices that have been identified at a local level.
I think all of that's something that we're going to have to work for. This is such a new initiative for us, and we're going to have to be building. I know that one of our next initiatives is to do a framework for computer science. So, taking teachers, educators from across our state and going through each individual standard and identifying some of the best practices, some of the misconceptions, and how to avoid some of the misconceptions, and tying in some lesson ideas. Hopefully that'll start in the fall. Well, the only other thing I really have for today, and this is something that we've just kind of offering as a one-day event. We're trying to find ways to support our schools because while 9-12 will definitely have to have a course devoted to computer science, our K-8 will, they can do that either through a standalone course or through integration of course content. One thing that we've been working with Bootstrap is they are designing curriculum specifically for our Oklahoma teachers and meeting our standards. And we do have a data science workshop coming up. We know that that's also a hot topic. It does have some of the tie-ins with computer science, but basic coding, you have to have no experience whatsoever. If you would like to participate in that, it is free. It's from 9 to 3 on Saturday, March 26th. I see Darren has shared that they have some culturally responsive computer science curriculum. So if you're looking, I can't endorse. We work specifically with Bootstrap through research and through NSF grant. But, I love the ability to have different organizations come and share links such as code.org and Class Matters, because that's a great way for you to be exposed to different contents. Erin's sharing that they're having code.org training, and that is this summer, right, Erin? And it's middle and high school?
Yes, June 13th through the 17th is our professional learning program, and we're going to be having the discoveries and the principles at the same time. We're working on securing a venue, but it will be in person, and we'll just have a room of, we'll have a group of middle school, which is discoveries, and a group of high school, which is principles. And one of the things that I wanted to say, Karen, is you're having all these resources out here. You're talking about Bootstrap, and we have what Darren shared. And I think this conversation really points out that there's really not a perfect one-size-fits-all curriculum out there, but we do have so many different nonprofits that are offering things that are free, like, Code.org's curriculum is free, and I can't speak to all the other ones necessarily, but I think there are enough free resources that we're able to fill those holes without spending too much money. It's just a matter of all of us working together to try to get it figured out. And I'm looking forward to working with Karen and any teachers that are interested on that framework. And we are working, I know, at my organization to come up with some better solutions for early childhood elementary as well.
Right. And for those of you that do have information to share, like I said, I can't share anything that has a cost associated with it, but we do have some Facebook groups. Hashtag OKCompSci is a great place for you to share information. You can email me if you would like any of that. We also have our CSTA OK organization, which is a great way to come in and share information with teachers. I know that our next meeting for that is actually Thursday from 5 to 6. And I can get you connected with that as well. Just trying to provide avenues that we can share information with teachers. Because, like we said, there's lots of opportunities out there. And while something might fit one school, something else might be a better fit for another school. Like I just said, CSTA OK organization meets Thursday of this week. Oh, it says first Tuesday, but actually it's the first Thursday of the month this semester. So I will make sure I change that in there. I promise you it is Thursday. And CSTA National has some great resources. So some of our organizations, you might want to reach out to them to see if you can get added to their resource list. For our teachers, this is a great place to turn for articles, webinars, curriculum ideas. And next month, we will be meeting, I believe it's on March 9th. I can't remember right off the top of my head, I can't remember. But it is on looking at the networks and internet strands. So once again, we're going to go through each of the sub-concepts by grade band and talk about how those levels of skill increase until we get to the high school level. So hopefully that will provide some support and guidance. Again, you can access the slide deck here. And here are some other meetings. I guess it's March 1st. There we go. And several other resources. You may have some personally that you would like me to add to these. We have some databases, some tools. On the computer science website for OSDE, we also have some information that we shared during virtual learning that provides some unplugged activities and some other activities that might be good during times of virtual or distance learning. Hopefully kids get some snow days though and don't have to make up everything because, they still need some fun. But I hope that I was able to share some information with you. Hopefully that answered some questions and give you a better foundation. And I am going to stop sharing and recording. And, oh, there we go. Stop.